And I guess I just want to encourage you, you have no chance of hitting a home run BRRRR like this if you don't get out there and do deals.
Welcome to the On Purpose Investor Podcast with your host, Eric and Tiffany Vogel. We spent several hard years building a rental property portfolio so we could have more time with our family and live our ideal life. Finding your path can be difficult, so we're here to help guide you along the way with lessons, tips, and tricks to design and implement your dream life through real estate investing. Now sit back, turn up the volume, and get ready for this episode of the On Purpose Investor. Hey, Pathfinders! Welcome back to the On Purpose Investor Podcast with your host, Eric
and Tiffany.
Good to have you back this week for episode number 17. Today we're going to be diving into the ultimate BRRRR.
I feel like you're hyping this real hard.
Oh, come on.
It's great.
It was the biggest deal of our career at the time.
Well, period.
Actually, looking back, it still is.
Yes.
Yeah. So, BRRRR. What's BRRRR stand for? Buy, Rehab, Rent, Refinance, Repeat. And this was the ultimate BRRRR for us. And it's probably just the most epitomal.
Good word.
Like epitome, but using it as
the ultimate,
an adjective.
All right.
I'm no grammar expert, but
as you write a book,
it is the epitome of a BRRRR, and a good BRRRR.
Yes.
And speaking of BRRRR, it is kind of chilly up here some days. Our home office is in a barn. I don't know if I've ever explained this. Yeah, our home office is in a barn outside of our property, and upstairs I just installed a mini split, and it actually stays cool in the hot days and hot in the cool days. So, BRRRR. It can get cold up here.
Wow.
Anyways.
You just wanted to give a shout out that you installed a mini split.
Whoop whoop. With the help of an HVAC guy that came over and did the vacuum, all that. I didn't want to buy a vacuum and learn how to do all that.
So last week we talked about community.
Yes, we did.
And our HVAC guy is definitely part of our team. He actually helped us a lot with this property.
Yeah, he did.
So this was our second intentional investment property.
Right.
We found this on the MLS.
What, the house we're in now?
The house we're talking about, the ultimate BRRRR.
Oh, okay. I was so confused for a second.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, so the ultimate BRRRR.
Are you focused?
I'm with you now.
Is the ADD under control?
I'm getting there.
All right. So we found this on the MLS, and this is the house where we met our wonderful agent. So we were really starting to build our network and community as we worked on this property.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about a couple episodes ago, we toured this property with our agent, and towards the end of the tour, we're like, oh crap, our other house is on fire. We need to go.
He thought we were breaking up with him.
Yeah.
But we weren't.
No.
There was legitimately a fire down there.
We can't break up with him.
That's right.
We're forever family.
Walking through this house the first time, it was a very unique situation. There were people in all three units, right?
Yeah, so it's a triplex. We haven't gotten through that.
Okay.
So it was a old 30s home.
No, it's like 1905.
Okay.
It's really old.
Early 1900s home that had been divided up into 3 units.
Mm-hmm.
And it's grandfathered in our city as a 3-family home. So if anything were to happen to the property, we would have to build it back as a single family. So fingers crossed that doesn't ever happen. We'll talk about...
It has survived a tornado.
Yes.
So let's hope it survives many other things moving forward.
So we found this on the MLS. We tried to reach out to the listing agent because we thought we were going to be savvy investors and not have an agent and use that to save a commission.
Right.
And our agent showed up to show the property and was going to represent us under the same brokerage. And we walked the property. It was listed for $129,000. The price was reduced about a year later to $120,000. So that's when we decided to go look at it. It was right after that price reduction. Mm-hmm. We wound up offering $95,000 because it needed an
insane amount of work. 2 of the units needed complete remodels, and the other one, the tenant had lived there for over 8 years, and he was like, I'm just gonna stay, and I'm good with the way my unit is.
Right.
And he has, even still to this day, he's still there, and he's good with his unit.
Yeah, and he pays early. Like this month he paid on the 1st, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
He normally pays on the 20th of the earlier month. So
right. But it needed a ton of work. And we had just gotten out of working on the other house that we did where I learned how to do all the plumbing and electrical. And so I was geared up. I was ready. I had all the knowledge. I had done it before, and I was like, hey, this is nothing. I can rebuild this floor. I can redo this bathroom. I can rerun this electrical, and I can do all this drywall. I can make this happen.
The house was closer to our current home than the other one. It was about 15 minutes away versus, 45 minutes, an hour?
That's right.
So we were looking forward to having something a little bit closer to home.
So we make the offer, $95,000. And she says, nope, I'm not okay with that, but I'm open to owner carry.
Yes.
And we're like, oh, okay. Then that was the first time we had heard the term before, but we'd never entertained it as an offer. And what she asked for was $60,000 in cash and carry the rest.
I think it was more than that. I think she was willing to do it for the full 120, but we had to bring $90,000 in cash.
Right.
It was something that was just so preposterous. The down payment.
Today we could have made that work because we would have had the tools to make it work.
Right.
And we probably actually would have done that deal
maybe.
with what we know today.
Yeah, maybe. I think the way it turned out for us was even better than had we accepted her owner carry offer.
So big time.
So all of this was happening before we bought the house we talked about 2 episodes ago, our house with the detached garage.
Okay.
So this was we tried to make this our first deal, but...
Oh, that's right. 3-4 years later, they kind of all run together.
Yeah.
Especially when they all happen so close together.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I
this
remember
was
it
all
now.
happening before we bought that house. So you were definitely still teaching. We had this offer in May. It didn't work out. She didn't want to accept our terms. So then we wound up going and offering on that other house and got it. So we purchased it a month later.
Mm-hmm.
So then during your summer break, we were renovating that other house and getting it rented out.
It's all making sense now.
Yeah, it all kind of becomes blurry. But So we finished renovating that house, got it rented out in October, I believe is what we did.
Yeah.
So we were sitting in your office in December and get a phone call from our agent who sold us that other house. And he said, hey, you're not going to believe this. She just marked the price down on that triplex you guys looked at. She marked it down to $75,000.
And before we even said anything, he said, okay, listen, I've already drawn up the offer.
Yes.
All I need you to do is tell me it's okay, and I'm going to send it to you, and you sign it. And the listing agent is in my office, and we can make this happen.
Right. So just to recap on the numbers, because I think this is so awesome.
It's pretty insane.
So it was listed for $129, sat for a year, marked down to $120. We offered $95. She said no. She knocked it down 6 months later to $75, and we said, yep, we'll give you full asking. So
and maybe something changed on her end. Maybe that's when that tenant stopped paying rent.
Right.
And she's like, I'm
just
tired of dealing with this. She was living in Europe somewhere and just needed to be off of this property.
Yep.
And
her circumstances changed.
That's right.
So,
and we inherited a very unique situation.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
It was well worth it for what we paid for that house.
So we got it under contract. We wound up buying it a month later. So in January, we bought it.
And we're going to walk through how we financed it later.
Yeah, just as a recap. So we bought our house with the garage apartment in June. And then 6 months later, or 7 months later, whatever it is, that January, we bought this unit.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point in January, basically a year from the time we decided we started our LLC and we wanted to do this, we had 6 units. So we had the house you had lived in, we had our little 2-unit, and then this triplex.
Yeah.
We were growing quick.
That's right.
So as far as funding it, we been going to our local meetup and we used our network. Well, we had talked to the guy that ran the meetup and we're like, we need money to buy this house. What do we do? And he said...
Well, I'd like to walk through this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm the one that had the conversation. And I go up to the guy that runs our meeting and say, hey, I'm looking for some private money. He said, oh, are you? What kind of deal do you got? I said, well, we have a house under contract and it's pretty rough. He's like, oh, sounds like a deal. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm asking people for money and I have a really bad product and I don't know if they're going to give it to me. Like, I really feel like I'm reaching and asking for a lot. He said, well, how much do you need? I said, I think I need around 70 to 80,000. He said, oh, well, we can make that work, but why don't you go talk to that guy first? And it sounded like he may have already had some stuff going on and already had money spoken for, and so he sent me to talk to this other guy. So I go up to him, I was like, we'll call him Jim Bob. Right. So I go up to Jim Bob. I'm like, hey, Jim Bob, Danny told me I should come tell you that I have a deal and that I need some money for it. And, I'm kind of like twiddling my thumbs a little bit. I was nervous. My palms were sweaty. Wheeze-neek, arms are heavy. I was vomiting on my sweater already. It's mom spaghetti. Stuff like that. I was feeling nervous. And he said, oh, great. What's the address? I'll go take a look at it. And it was just like that. It was just, whoa. And the reason he listened to me and was even entertaining the idea of it was, one, we had been coming to that meeting for almost a year.
Yeah.
Well, 6 months?
Oh, yeah.
It was almost a year that we'd been going to that meeting. Because I was asking him in November, December-ish for this money.
Yeah.
And he had been seeing us come to this meeting, and every time we went to this meeting, we would talk about what we're doing. And when we started doing that house with a detached garage, we started speaking even more about what we're doing and how we found that deal and how was the renovation going. And I was just all about talking about that. So people knew that we were moving and we were making deals. So he said, cool, what's the address? I'll go take a look at it. Well, the next day, him and his wife go and drive by and take a look at it, and he calls me. Were we together when he called me?
Yes, we were. I distinctly remember we were in the car. It was late at night. We were in the turn lane to pull into Walmart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I get these weird, picture visions. And, it was one of those, turn down the radio. Oh, my gosh. I don't think we had Bluetooth in the car.
It's like, oh, my God.
I don't know.
Jim Bob's calling.
Right. So I remember him asking what kind of experience we had. And we're like, well, we've done one, and we've got this other house. And we're thinking, there's no way this guy's going to give us $75,000.
Right.
No way. Who in their right mind would give us that kind of money?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, I just drove by it, and yeah, I think we can make that deal happen.
And immediately our minds were just blown.
Yes.
This guy
doesn't know us.
He doesn't know us. What is he going to need from us? Does he need a down payment?
Right.
Does he need my credit report? Does he need my driver's license number?
And I mean, it was the easiest closing because he just sent the money.
So
I don't
easy.
think we wrote a check for that closing. If we did, it was not a large amount.
Right.
We got the house for $75,000.
Mm-hmm.
We put in roughly $25,000.
Yep.
Well, I think that $25,000 was everything: renovation, closing costs, everything for the refinance and the purchase. And when we go to refinance it,
how long after did we refinance it?
I think it was about 6 months because it took us a while to get the renovations.
Well, it took us 3 months to get that one person out, the drug user, we'll say.
We closed that refi in July. We purchased it in
January.
It was basically 6 months to the day.
Okay. So January, we're renovating it. And we funded this renovation through some credit cards and a little bit of money we had left over from the refinance.
Yeah.
That paid back some of our retirement accounts.
So we put $16,000 in the renovations, but
Okay.
with closing costs on the purchase side and the refinance, I think there were some points and stuff in there.
Right.
We were $25,000 all in.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're $100,000 into this house. We had no clue what we had.
No, we were like, what is this refinance going to come in at? There were hardly any comps for a triplex in that part of town. They would have to go really far to find some good comps. Right. And it still looked ugly. We didn't go and paint the exterior. We didn't replace the windows. It still looked a little run down.
But we were able to double the rents because we just fixed up the inside and made it less dumpy.
Yeah.
We start this refinance and we get the appraisal back. And I think we were both just stunned.
We knew it was a deal changer. When that email came in and it said $200,000. It just blew our mind.
Right. In essence, we, at closing, got a $75,000 check.
Yep.
That paid back our renovation money and gave us $50,000 to go buy the next few houses.
And we paid off Jim Bob.
Right.
And he was happy because he's like, wow, 6 months and I got my money back. And
plus all the interest.
And we told him what it appraised for. And he's like, wow, y'all really know how to find deals. And that really established our relationship with him. We didn't know how to find deals at that point, but we did.
We knew it was a good deal. We didn't know it was a home run.
Yeah, we pursued it really hard, though.
So we wound up with $50,000 in equity. So in essence, we printed $100,000 with that deal. So we had $50,000 in equity, $50,000 in our pocket above what we had invested in the house. And that's what we used to fund our next few purchases. Mm-hmm. I guess I don't want to discourage anyone if you don't find a deal like this, especially in today's market. This was several years ago that we bought it. It made it work for us. But not having a deal like this doesn't mean you can't make big moves and reach success.
Yes, absolutely.
But
if you work hard and you find a great deal, it may not be a bring home $50,000 out of your BRRRR type of deal, but if you can break even on several deals
and get that monthly,
or bring home $10,000 or $5,000 off of several deals, you could still easily make it.
And our subsequent BRRRRs did not appraise, and we knew the values were there, and the values just did not come in for us. So we left a lot of money in our future deals, but this kind of launched us. And I guess I just want to encourage you. You have no chance of hitting a home run BRRRR like this if you don't get out there and do deals.
Right.
So, what's the quote? Like, luck, it comes to those who work hard.
Yeah, maybe luck doesn't come to those who wait.
Yeah, should have looked it up. But
I think it's more or less you create your own luck by doing.
Right. You're not going to get lucky on a deal unless you are doing deals.
Yeah. You can't catch a fish if you're not fishing.
Wow. All right.
I'm trying to get my old fatherisms in.
Yeah, you're Southern white man.
I'm working on it.
So with this property, we didn't know at the time that it was grandfathered as a 3-unit, and that if something were to happen to it, we would, in essence, have to build it back as a single family. And the numbers would still work if we had to rebuild it as a single family, but we make a good bit of money off of it, having it divided up into 3 units. And one of the things we did early on was we took out a lot of trees off our properties. There was this giant, was it an oak tree?
It was a big water oak.
Yeah.
That was probably 8 to 10 feet away from one of the units. And I was just worried about it. It didn't look good. It was on the side of a hill. It kind of had a lean to it. And we said early when we were renovating, I really want to take out that tree, and specifically that tree. And also these smaller ones around here, and I just want to open it up. And she's like, yeah, that one's got to go, because if it falls on the house, that could be devastating.
Right.
Because if it fell on the house, the way it was leaning a little bit, it would have fallen directly where all of the people in the home would likely sleep.
Yeah. That
was just terrifying to me.
Right. So fast forward in 2021, our town was hit by a gigantic tornado.
Was it F4?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It was massive. And that night, Eric went out, because he's National Guard trained. He went out to try to help people, and just up the street wound up chainsawing people out of their home because a tree came
And I was
through.
trying to get to where this home was, but couldn't get there because there were just so many power lines down, so many trees down. And ultimately, I spent 4 hours from 10 o'clock at night. Well, the tornado hit a little after 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it was like midnight to like 3 or 4 a.m. I was out there in the pouring rain with chainsaws and several dozen other guys that had come out with their chainsaws, and we're trying to cut people out of their houses. We're trying to cut trees off of cars and stuff that people were just blocked in.
Yeah.
They couldn't go anywhere. There were trees everywhere.
Right.
And I could not get to this home because the tenants had called or sent some type of correspondence that, obviously the power's out, but can't really get out of my home because there's a telephone pole laying on the house.
Right. So the next morning you get out there, and I guess, mind you, I'm home with our 3-month-old. So this was just a terrifying experience because we're like wondering if all of our tenants are okay. And it was a mess. Yeah. So you finally get out there and you see there's a telephone pole leaning across the street, basically to this tenant's front door.
And you could stand on the front porch and touch the transformer.
Yeah.
Like it was that close. And all the trees were blown that way as well.
Towards the house, basically.
Yeah. And all the debris from there's like a warehouse across the street. Its whole roof had been disintegrated, and it was just all over our roof and everyone else's roof everywhere, and just trees being blown over. And the tree that we took out would have 100% fallen on the house,
the bedroom,
and very likely had fallen through the center of the home. And I don't want to speak about it. It's just it is terrifying
been really bad.
to think what could have been.
I think I want to use that as a lesson to advocate for preventative maintenance, especially with trees.
And it might cost you $5,000 to $8,000, maybe $10,000 to remove a tree that might be questionable.
Right.
It's so worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
It is so worth it. Set aside cost, set aside replacement cost, set aside replacement values and all that stuff, and just look at the value of people.
And even if you want to look at it as a financial situation, us spending that few $1,000s that we really didn't have at the time saved us from losing this house as a multifamily. potentially. I mean, we don't know for a fact that it would have been a total loss and what could have happened, but
possibly saved 3 people's lives.
Right. I guess if you see big trees, especially ones that are potentially
leaning
or dead,
yep,
go ahead and take care of them. Take care of your properties because it will pay off in the long run.
If you have no clue what a tree leaning looks like or a tree dying looks like or anything like that, call a tree company, one that has good reviews and one that is, well respected in the community or whatever, and just say, hey, I'm worried about this tree. Will you come take a look at it?
Right.
And if they're a well-respected company, they should be able to say, hey, you know what? It is close to the home, but it looks fairly healthy. Yeah. It doesn't look like it's gonna, do anything. And you can make your decision based there.
Right.
And you can say, well, give me a quote on taking it down. So you can make more educated decisions that way.
Right. All right. On that really sad note, it ended well. But
ended well, yes.
Yes. We want to talk through each of the units and kind of high level the work we did in each of them and kind of where they're at today. So starting out, the unit we didn't touch. So this guy he's been in there, I think, 12 years now.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's over a decade. He is a great tenant. He pays early. He doesn't ever call with maintenance issues.
And when he does, it's a real issue,
Yeah, the HVAC and...
Well, he said one day, I flipped on the light switch and something popped and it smoked and now the AC doesn't work. And I'm like, wow, that is super strange. And so we went out there and fixed all that. But he doesn't, bother us with the small little things that we think that tenants should take upon themselves to fix. My light went out.
Right.
Change the light bulb.
His rent is grossly under market, especially if we fixed up his unit. We do small increases every year, roughly 3%, and we're okay with that because he is such a great tenant. He's easy to work with. He's a great guy. We like having him around. So if and when he decides to move, we will renovate his unit and probably double the rent. But until then, we're perfectly fine with the situation we have with him. So that one, we haven't done any repairs in it really. So
aside from some minor electrical work and a new HVAC.
Yeah. So Unit A.
Unit A was very interesting. And this was our very first rodeo of eviction. It was our first rodeo of... Inherited tenant, yep. It was a unique situation. Yes.
So there was a woman living there with her 2 children, and it was a 1-bedroom.
And frequent guests.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. The unit was trashed, and not necessarily from her. It just was not in good shape in general. And we wound up having a judgment because she hadn't paid rent, and the previous landlord signed over that she hadn't been paying. So as we did the purchase, our attorney helped us with the eviction proceedings because we knew nothing and wanted to focus our time on the renovations and everything else we needed to learn. So we had our attorney basically handle the entire eviction and just paid them and called it part of our deal.
Yeah, and when our attorney went over there to get her to sign some papers, the tenant said, could you give me a ride to the gas station for some cigarettes?
Yes.
And then claimed that she fell down some stairs when there are no stairs in the unit. It was
a hot mess.
Very interesting situation there.
It was well worth paying our attorney so we didn't have to try to learn that. At this point, we just did our first eviction from beginning to end on our own. But we
just recently, less than a month ago.
Yeah, but we have capacity to learn something new. At that time, we decided, we're spending all this time educating finding deals. Eric was learning how to renovate them.
And we were both still working full-time.
Right. So
in our jobs.
We just had to outsource that piece.
Yep.
So our attorney, we still joke about the situation. And we saw her not too long ago walking around town. And it was a bad situation. But we do eventually get her out. And her pit bull that she added into the property and all of that whole rigmarole.
The worst part about that whole situation was seeing the children in that situation. And when someone's not paying and they're disrespectful at times, and they say, hey, the sink doesn't drain, you're liable to go fix that as a homeowner, as the landlord. And it's just one of those hard situations where you got to go in. Right. And you got to do that stuff. Yeah. And the toilet won't flush. Well, toilet won't flush because of negligence. And it was a rough situation and a really good learning experience.
Right. So in that unit, she stayed there. We were renovating the 3rd unit while she was there. And we'll talk about the scope of that in a little bit. But once she did move out, we... paint, carpet,
drywall. I rebuilt the bathroom
from
the floor up because it was rotted.
Yeah, redid the kitchen cabinets. and painted those. And I remember painting those. That was not fun.
Did you paint those cabinets?
I did.
Good for you.
Yeah. We did a lot of the work on it ourselves, but we also started to hire people. So I don't remember who was there, but I remember you had help.
I had a former student come in and do drywalling.
That's right.
Yep. He came and did some drywall.
Yeah.
And, they did a fine job.
Yeah.
But when we moved over to the next unit, the studio.
So we renovated the studio first.
Right.
We had a contractor helping us with that.
It's the first experience with a contractor.
Maybe handyman's the more accurate term.
Yeah, not a licensed contractor, but someone that knew how to swing a hammer, do drywall, lay floor, stuff like that.
Yeah. And you had to, that bathroom. Do we have before and afters that we can post?
I do.
Because that bathroom was the worst layout.
It was very interesting. They had a bathtub with the faucet for the bathtub kind of in the middle of the room, and it was built into a box. It was like a plywood box.
And it was cast iron.
That the tub was sitting in.
To get to the vanity, you had to shimmy by it, right?
Yeah, you had to shimmy by the tub, essentially.
You could almost wash your hands sitting on the side of the tub.
You could, absolutely.
Yeah.
And use the toilet.
Yeah. So we redesigned the layout on that and made it much more functional.
And I did all the framing for that, and I did all the plumbing for that and whatnot, and then had the contractor come and just do the drywall and you
added a washer-dryer connection.
I did. I added a washer-dryer connection in the kitchen dining room area. Yeah. It's a studio apartment type deal.
But the kitchen's as big as the bedroom.
Yeah.
Close to it, so.
Now, we have some very awesome, and we just got done renovating it again.
Yeah.
Because when we did that first round of renovations, we were just focused on getting the bathroom good and the plaster ceiling in the living room done. So what we did was, it was 12-foot ceiling, so we just dropped it a foot and then put some sheetrock instead of paying for someone to come replaster. So just dropped that ceiling a little bit, boom, did that, and then did the bathroom with a washer and dryer hookup, and said, in the future, we'll come do this kitchen. But for right now, the kitchen works. Yeah. It's functional. I
think you put a new composite countertop.
Yep. I did a Formica countertop and called it a day.
Yeah.
Then after 2 years, several tenants later, upgraded that kitchen again. Yeah. Now it's got new cabinets, and new granite countertops.
Yeah. It's really nice.
Does it have a dishwasher? I think it does.
Did you put a dish? Yeah, it might have.
I did put a dishwasher in.
Okay.
That's a really awesome unit.
Yeah. We had a time where we lived in that unit.
Yeah, that's a unique story.
Yes.
Are you going to tell a brief synopsis of it?
We'll tell it when we get to that stage of our career.
Long story short, I catch a camper on fire almost. It doesn't work. We have to move into this little studio for several days.
It was a week. And I was trying to show it, so it was like, oh, you can't come see it. We're doing some cleaning, and really it was us living on a mattress in the little studio.
Yeah, I remember that.
But it's a great unit. Like if our life blows up and we have to move somewhere, I would consider moving back in there.
Well, with a kid and one on the way, I don't know if we'd.
Hey, we can make it work.
Yeah, we could make it.
It is one of my favorite places.
I like it a lot. But that is the studio.
Yes. So one of the cool things with this is we've had a lot of turnover because they're all like studios or one bedrooms, and we get professionals that stay for a year, maybe a year and a half, or some of them, like with COVID, one of our tenants had to move out because she just couldn't afford it. So we have had high turnover, but when our tenants break their lease early, they find a replacement tenant. Mm-hmm. So
we have not advertised for this property in over 2 years.
Yeah. So we've had tenants break their lease about 9 months in, but they find someone else, and then we put them on a full another year lease. Mm-hmm. And they're all great tenants. Everyone that's lived in that house, I would not say we are friends, but we are friendly with them.
They're good people, and they work in businesses in the downtown area.
And we see them a lot.
And we go to these businesses, and we see them, we're like, hey, how's it going? And, they love our family, and we love that they're happy where they are. Yep. It's good. Be good to people, just in general. I'm all about just, treat people good and be good to people.
Yeah. We've had high turnover, but not high vacancy because they're referring someone they know. So we say, okay, we'll leave it up to you guys on when you want to move out, but your lease ends this date and your lease starts the day after. Mm-hmm. And it's up to you guys to sort it all out. And they do. And it's been a great property for us. So
we are now, 3.5, 4 years into owning this. Mm-hmm. We got a refinance done back in 2019, 2018. When did that refinance
July
happen?
of 19.
July of 19 for $200,000. Mm-hmm. What do you think the rough market value is on this home today?
I don't know.
Do you think it's...
Wait, I think we did another refi, didn't we?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we did. Because the rate was 7 1/4? 7
on the
1/8.
first one?
On the first go-around, we had 7 1/8.
Okay.
We had a spree of refinancing.
I didn't realize this one got refinanced.
Yeah. It didn't appraise for that much more, and I don't have a date on when we did it. But we were able to knock the rate down to 4 3/4.
That helps.
For a 30-year fixed. So we make a healthy amount. We have, because we didn't leave cash in it, we have an infinite return. I wish I had the date because it did not appraise that much higher, but I think it was not that far after the first go round.
So if you had to say, what was the biggest reason why this was such a home run for us?
I think because we were able to pull the cash out, and looking at the next 4 properties we did, we had $45,000 invested in those as our cash left in the deal.
And so this BRRRR
bought 4 more houses for us.
Bought 4 more houses.
If we take the cash flow on those 4, if they were all rented as traditional rentals, it'd be about $1,000, $1,100 a month.
So include the triplex.
So we have basically this property with no money invested bought us a total of 5 homes and $1,500 a month.
That's not a bad day, is it?
No.
I don't know who Danny says this. We're like, what's the return on that? And a lot of people will try to go calculate it and blah blah blah. But is it Pete Fortunato that says, "Oh, good enough"?
I think it's Jimmy Napier.
Jimmy Napier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the return on this is definitely good enough.
Absolutely good enough.
Because it, in essence, bought half our portfolio.
We know why it was such a home run for us, and that's because it catapulted us. Mm-hmm. It made the snowball much bigger so that it could start gaining even more momentum.
Right.
Now, what was the secret to us making this happen?
It was a lot of things. It was finding deals and making offers. It was having a great agent who called us as soon as it came up.
And even had the offer ready.
Right. And he was in the same brokerage as the listing agent. So that really helped us.
Mm-hmm. The attorney helped?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's when we established a relationship with this attorney, was going through this eviction.
Right.
And Tiffany and her are good friends now.
Yeah. Well, you are too.
Yeah, I'm good friends with them as well.
We go to lunch regularly with our attorney and our agent and just hang out. Like, it's not a working thing. It's just us getting together. They come to all our family events. Like, right. It all comes down to community at the end of the day.
Team Vogel is not just for business. It's family as well.
So, we had our lender who helped us. Mm-hmm. We had our handyman group, the guys that worked on the property. We have people who help us maintain it now and cut the grass and take care of it. We have our tenants that we love to have around. At this point, those tenants, I don't foresee them moving anytime soon. And if they do, I'm sure they'll help us find the replacement tenants. It's just a good property.
Yeah. Overall, our success was because we were making moves.
Right.
We found this because we were out there.
Right.
And it was our second intentional purchase. And you might be saying, "Oh, there's no way I can do this in my market. There's no way I could ever make this happen in today's market." Listen, we had no idea it was going to happen for us. And it would have never happened for us if we didn't sit down one day early on and say, we're going to make something happen. Mm-hmm. We don't know what we're going to make happen, but we know where we want to be.
Right.
And we had to forecast where we wanted to be in the 2 to 3 years, and then let that motivate us and drive us to go do deals, and motivate us to take us to each meeting, to the meetup, and go learn things and learn the community and have the ability to set up those relationships for private money. You're never gonna be able in this industry, and I really think this is the truth. You don't need to wait until the iron is hot to strike it.
Right. You
need to make the iron hot by striking it.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to daily intentional action. We would never have built the relationship with the leader of our group that we went to, or the private money guy, if we did not consistently go every month. And it didn't matter how tired we were after working a full day. And you had practice a lot of times, so you showed up late. It didn't matter how antisocial I was feeling as an introvert. Mm-hmm. I still got there early.
Didn't matter how much we didn't know.
Right. We showed up to that meeting. We showed up and analyzed deals. We daily took action, listening to podcasts, doing whatever it took.
And we sacrificed by cutting everything else out.
Right.
And so our success is not luck. There is so much that went into it.
Right.
I don't believe there's any true luck out there. There are opportunities created by your action.
Right. Our network that we built was a huge asset to us, but it took a lot of intentional effort to build that network.
So what can our listeners go do? In my opinion, what you need to do is, if you're not active in a real estate community, you want to be a real estate investor, you need to go to meetings.
Yeah. And consistently show up.
Yep. Don't just go and ask some questions and then put it in your little notebook and then next month say, I got some notes, but I really can't make it to that meeting.
Right. Well, I can tell you, I host a coffee meetup for women now.
Mm-hmm.
And when a woman reaches out to me that I know is local and could come, but chooses not to, I'm less willing to help her out than I am the women who show up.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones who show up consistently, I reach out to them weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And, I read this and thought it might help you with the problem you're having.
Right.
So people are willing to give if you're willing to put in the effort.
Yeah. Your commitment is going to be your secret tool.
Yeah.
Commitment is very free. Commitment to something is extremely free because you don't have to pay anything to say, I'm going to go listen to this.
Right.
Or I'm going to go read this.
Right.
It might cost you to buy whatever it is you're listening to or reading, but it doesn't cost anything to open that book up.
Right.
It doesn't cost anything to pick up the phone and call someone other than the cost of the phone bill, but that's just...
You're not paying for minutes anymore.
Yeah, right. But it doesn't cost anything to be committed to your future self, to your dream life.
Yeah, and next week we're going to talk about sacrifice.
Yeah.
And how important and key that was. Because we did sacrifice a lot. We didn't want to show up to every meeting, but damn, we were there if we wanted to be or not, because we knew it was important to our goals and our dream life.
Right. Well, I'm going to hop off the soapbox and wrap up my portion.
Yeah.
But, if you didn't take anything away from this little rant I've been on for a few minutes now, stop saying it must be nice and go make it nice for yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Eric out.
Thanks, y'all, for hanging out with us and listening to us talk about our best BRRRR deal and the lessons we learned. What lessons can you take from our experience and apply it to your life? Don't let the time you just invested go to waste. You only get one life, so live it purposely. That's all we have for you today. See you next time.
Are you ready to discover and build your dream life? Then it's time to become a Pathfinder. Head over to onpurposeinvestor.com and sign up for our newsletter to get tips and tricks to help you find your path and get the latest from our blog. If you haven't already, we'd really appreciate an honest review on your favorite podcast app. If you're enjoying this show, share it with friends, family, and fellow investors. See you next time at the On Purpose Investor Podcast.